Hi, I'm Matt Marshall, founder and editor-in-chief of VentureBeat, and today we're talking about the future of geospatial. As in so many other areas of development and innovation, AI is having a significant impact on the geolocation industry. I'm talking with Gary Little, CEO of Foursquare, a leading provider of geolocation data. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Matt. Good to be here.
Gary, it's great to have you. First of all, let's talk about what are some of the new use cases of location-based data being brought about because of the increase in AI applications lately?
Yeah, it's a good question, Matt. I think one of the most exciting things to us that have been working in this industry for quite a long time is that AI technologies in particular have this great democratizing opportunity to make the technologies much more accessible for non-specialized users of the data and information that we have. Examples can be like, what are the most, interesting intersections in a particular location to think about placing my next store and so forth. In the old model, that was a very difficult set of data analytics, SQL queries, and so forth to try to get to an answer on a dynamic data set. When you think about what generative AI starts to open up, it allows more and more folks thinking about these problems in their business decisioning to readily access that information in a much more native way. You can simply ask, as you go forward, ask the machine those types of questions and get really rich, powerful data sets back in real time.
Gary, that's exciting. Can we double click on that a little bit? What are some of the new tools that the community has been building for all of this Gen AI and the other AI applications that are impacting how location-based data can be accessed, useful for organizations?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about our arc, Matt, as a company, one of the things that we're very proud of redoing over the last few years is actually the underlying architecture of even our data system to be accessible for tools like this. So a few years back, we broke down our data infrastructure into a layer of primitives, and as you know, rebuilt that on a knowledge graph. And the core idea behind that is when you think about a geospatial problem, you need to connect multiple data sets together in real time to get to the promise of value. And there's no better way to do that than exposing the data primitive architecture on a graph that allows you to query way more points of connection in very interesting ways. A lot of times it's the knowledge graph infrastructure and the AI being able to understand millions of points of reference very quickly and returning high value information for, again, building a great product or doing great data analytics. And so that's really been like our core foundational effort at Foursquare over the last few years, is really taking these proprietary data sets that we've built up over time, where we have human in the loop confirmation of what's happening in the real world, developing that in a much more dynamic way on a knowledge graph. And then when you start to expose that to these technologies, it's really fascinating the way to think about how product experiences will change, how data insights will change, and the pace of them, right? The ability to really understand flexibly the world is really powerful for our customers.
Let's go a little deeper on that knowledge graph. How can geolocation be used specifically? Can you give us a couple of examples?
You can kind of distill location or geospatial use cases into the nexus between places in the world, movement in relation to those places. So that can be anything from traffic or weather patterns or device movement, alongside a whole cluster of knowledge of the who is moving. We're launching soon a whole new analytics platform called Foursquare Insights, which is built on this entire infrastructure. So as we think about what are the questions our business analyst customers want to ask, our platform will be able to very rapidly respond to that, where, someone like myself who's non-technical can ask a bunch of questions and the machine can help you with the technical attributes that then get you to a core question that you're trying to drive some kind of business decision or business understanding around. So it's really, really fascinating to think about. The other area that we're really excited about leveraging that is as we launch later this month a whole developer platform around APIs that power app experiences. How do you make personalization, for example, Matt, really easy to do using the full spectrum of what a knowledge graph can deliver in real time for native understanding of that personalization? So it's a really powerful way to drive just a richer value of the full spectrum of attributes that you have in these massive data sets about what's happening in the real world.
Fascinating. Gary, in many regards, we've seen all these cool technologies emerging, and location is obviously feeding into these, as you've just pointed out. I think one thing we've noticed is that the enterprise adoption, there's a lot of experimentation, but the adoption in production of some of these applications have taken a while, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of organizations have only now just gotten their data platforms in shape. How will this adoption over the next year or so impact the geolocation industry? And
Yeah, there's two really interesting kind of trends that you're hitting on, Matt. They're really kind of foundational as we think about the problems that we're working on. The first one with respect to location and geospatial is the barrier to usage, frankly, in the old model was just too high, right? Which is why you've seen, if you look on the landscape of location companies, you generally have a number of what I would call point solution companies. So you have map derived companies, or you have insights derived companies, or marketing technology. No one has really pursued, at least to our knowledge, kind of unifying the core problems of how to make this data more actionable for the end customer in development. And that's also been in the context of, a massive migration, as to cloud and cloud data infrastructure and things that are being built up, edge computing, all these things that actually feed into, if you're going to deploy real-time location into either a production environment for a product or a production environment for a data use case, you need a lot of efficiency, you need a lot of compute, you need a lot of capability. And so that's kind of like one of the big sea changes we've seen, and very positive things happening around us over the last year or so. And then, but a lot of what I see in the location context is this is very early signal of what these tools are going to be able to do. There's still a lot of infrastructure work, pick, shovel, and axe work that needs to happen to go from dynamic data sets like location, where we see a lot of value in continuing to build the kind of human in the loop confirmation of what's happening in the real world, developed on that knowledge graph infrastructure, and then deployed in production against a set of AI tools that has the types of security, privacy, and systems, sort of things that large scale enterprises need to rely on to really invest at scale. So what we see right now is a lot of, prototyping, a lot of interesting testing as how these technologies can be applied to certain use cases. It goes back to the core problem that we're working on at Foursquare, which is how do we deliver the software layer that makes this easy for every customer? It doesn't require customers to have, geospatial departments at scale operating inside, the enterprise. And so when you combine AI, you can see a much more rapid adoption curve of the technology within our customers. So very, very exciting, developments that we see every day, but still really early.
Yeah, Gary, talk about early, but I have to ask this. How do you see location-based data being used in powerful new applications, driven by multimodal online over the next few years?
One of the great values that we provide our customers today in areas like understanding incremental foot traffic lift based on media exposure or, marketing campaigns and so forth, the models that are underlying that are only enhanced by more scale in these multimodal models being applied to these proprietary data sets. Deeper, richer, better understanding of all the elements that are impacting and driving that real world behavior. So we're just super excited about how that all kind of comes together and generates, tons of value. And we're seeing it in every corner of our business. We'll later this year launch a new consumer app experience. You don't want to necessarily search in the way that a map makes you search today. Generally you're with your friends in New York City and you want to say, hey, let's go get Chinese food. You want to ask a machine then in a very native way, what's the best Chinese restaurant within, these parameters, and get very rich return on that with a deep understanding of your spatial context. And so it's really exciting to think about how you can really unlock value very rapidly for end users, for customers in the enterprise, utilizing all of these capabilities.
Wow, Gary, clearly the best is yet to come, and I'm really excited to watch the space as it unfolds. Thank you for joining us here today and talking about the future of geospatial.
Fantastic. Enjoyed it, Matt, as always.
And thank you for watching. For more stories about the tech revolution, subscribe to our newsletters and check out our other VB in Conversation videos at venturebeat.com.